Hi, everyone. My name is Jada.
My name is April.
And this is the MendHER Podcast, where we focus on healing the little girl to restore the woman. And we do that through centering Christ and nurturing our body, mind, and soul. So welcome, everyone, to the 5th episode of the MendHER Podcast, where today's episode is focusing on the art of communication and how we've learned to communicate through, our childhood experiences and where we grew up. So first, I want to just go through some scriptures that I had pulled that I feel like really speaks to what's God's expectation of how we're supposed to communicate with one another and what healthy communication looks like. So the first scripture is James 1:19, be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry. The second scripture is Proverbs 15, verse 1, a gentle answer turns away wrath. Ephesians 4:29, do not let any unwholesome talk come out of your mouths. And then my favorite, Proverbs 18:21, death and life are in the power of the tongue. So why do you think God put these specific scriptures in the Bible for us?
Because our words are powerful.
Mm-hmm. And I feel like a lot of times, a lot of unhealthy communication is rooted over speaking bad things over our lives and over other people's lives. And I feel like God, knowing that, in the Bible, people are very disobedient and not following his instructions, I feel like he put this guide in here to really teach us how to correct that unhealthy communication by being mindful of how we are responding to others and not really taking the time to really listen before speaking, and also before responding to like different emotions we're feeling in that setting. And also just being careful with what we are saying and being mindful that, like you said, our words do have power. So I feel like if it wasn't for reading my Bible, I probably would still have like that same unhealthy communication style I had when I was little. But I feel like God just does a great job at just really giving us the scriptures and giving us the words that we really need to meditate on to really correct things that we have learned from our childhood that wasn't the best way to like do things, such as like communicating with people and communicating with our loved ones. And I just wanted to share that with you all so that we are centering Christ and fixing the unhealthy communication styles that we have to, become healthier communicators.
Correct.
So first, I just want to dive into, a lot of the discussions on this podcast is going to be about, unhealed trauma from your childhood. And so thinking back on your childhood, how did you grow up learning how to communicate?
It wasn't healthy because we didn't listen.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone yelled at each other or overtalked one another, but it wasn't healthy communication where one person spoke and everybody listened,
mm-hmm.
Got understanding to respond,
Mm-hmm.
but it was just everybody responding to be heard,
mm-hmm.
and not really listening to understand.
And so with that, do you think, like, I know in previous episodes, like I think during the attachment style episode, you said that you didn't feel like, your parents were emotionally available. Do you think that also played a role in their communication style towards you?
In some way, yes.
Mm-hmm. Do you want to unpack that a little bit, like how that emotional instability played a role in like them yelling, them not listening to you, like?
Yeah, it made me respond in a way that I shouldn't have responded, meaning out of anger,
Mm-hmm.
not being slow to speak,
Mm-hmm.
quick to listen.
Mm-hmm.
So as I got older, I was angry a lot. So the way that I respond out of anger wasn't proper communication.
Right.
And it always resulted in something negative happening.
And I see from you saying that, like, that you feel like due to that upbringing, you feel like you were quick to really respond to anger. Do you think there were any other like communication traits that you picked up on from your parents or from like that environment that you grew up in?
Yeah, like being ignored.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a negative sign of communication.
So do you feel like you took on that trait of like ignoring others in communication, or do you feel like because you were ignored, you had more of a,
It
like a
made me
listening
react.
ear?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It made me start listening more.
Okay. Yeah, I feel like for me, I feel like we're kind of going to talk about that too, like how your experience growing up, well, no one was hearing you. People were having screaming matches, and being quick to not listen, being quick to respond, really impacted you. And I feel like that kind of carried on into my childhood a little bit, like the screaming, the yelling. But for me, I just didn't like communicate that verbally. I more reacted like more in my silo, and I feel like that my reaction to your communication style triggers like how I communicate with others, meaning like I'm very quiet, very not verbal with like expressing like how I'm feeling or just communicating certain things to people, and I feel like that did trickle. And so with that, I'm just wondering, do you think like communication styles is like something that can be generationally passed down if it's not dealt with at the root?
Yes, and if you don't recognize it as it being something bad.
Right.
Because I didn't recognize it was something bad until I got older and realized, okay, this is not healthy.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want a different response, you have to do things differently.
Right.
So once I realized that that wasn't the proper way of communicating, and also I realized, okay, if I'm yelling and screaming and they not responding and I'm not getting the results, but I'm constantly getting in trouble, okay, there must be a better way for me to communicate to get my needs met.
What do you think are some like signs that this is unhealthy communication? Like, what were some signs for you that this is unhealthy?
I kept getting in trouble.
Wait. No, yeah, but like, I feel like, how did you know, like, the traits that you were taking on, like screaming matches? Like, how did you know that was unhealthy communication? Like, how did you know, like, I need to correct this? Because you did correct that with me, at least.
Yeah, I corrected it because my blood pressure stayed up. You screaming and yelling causes your blood pressure to be up. I always felt like I was gonna have a heart attack.
Ooh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's.
I didn't know that, but I knew that screaming and yelling isn't good for your body, but I didn't know you went through that.
Yeah. So my body also felt it. It wasn't just I had those emotions. My physical body felt it.
Mm-hmm. Did you? I
would get headaches.
Oh.
Yeah, my body would tell on me.
What about like how people were responding to your communication style? Was that a sign as well, like that your communication style was unhealthy?
Yeah, because it always ended up me not being heard.
Mm-hmm.
So I realized, okay, this not getting me answers.
Mm-hmm. Has anyone like verbally said like the way you communicate with me is just not helpful or not?
Mm-hmm.
Who?
My mama.
Oh, that's you're right.
That's what made me start writing letters, because when I would communicate with her, she would just immediately ignore me, like,
right,
because she didn't want to go. She didn't want the yelling and the screaming, so she would just ignore me. So I was like, okay, and so that I wouldn't yell and scream, and I know I had an issue with getting my words to convey what I wanted to say without it being me being mean, because I was told that I was mean. I would put it in writing, and she understood it better with me writing.
What are some? So you kind of broke down like the signs that this is unhealthy. What do you think is needed for healthy communication?
I think both people need to allow the person to speak without interrupting, but also have a ear to listen without being offended. Because people will tell you how the way they feel. That don't mean you intentionally made them feel that way.
Mm-hmm.
That's just how the way they probably interpret it. But that's when you let that person speak and say whatever made them feel, however it made them feel. But then once they finish speaking, you acknowledge their feelings. But then you tell them, I didn't mean for you to feel, I didn't mean for it to come off that way.
Yeah.
And then you learn a better way of communicating with that person, so you won't be back at that same spot of trying to defend your communication to them.
Yeah. And I feel like a lot of people defend because they're just not understanding what people are saying. Like it's almost like a hit dog holler mentality. Like you're projecting, like you're feeling some type of way, and you're not really listening to the person because you're too busy you're too busy centering the conversation about you, your thoughts, your feelings, your emotions,
when it's really not about you.
Yeah. And I feel like that's where that disconnect really comes in, because there's a lot of times I have to take me out of it. Like, this person is coming to you to talk about them and for y'all to have a conversation, and as much as what they're saying may impact me, I still need to remove myself from it so I can actually listen and really respond with the intention to respond to what they're actually saying and not how I'm feeling from what they're saying, if that makes sense.
Right, because sometimes majority of the time, people are not even directing what they're saying to you, but because you have that same issue, you take it upon yourself to make it seem like they talking at you about you, and they not.
Right. I think some other things that is needed with communication is also just understanding like how that other person communicates, like people in your life are communicating, because I feel like when you understand that people's communication styles are rooted in how they grew up learning how to communicate based on how they watch their parents communicate with each other, how they watch their parents communicate with their friends, how you watch, other friends communicate with each other. I feel like that definitely impacts how you communicate, and you thinking like, oh, I saw this person communicate this way, and you watch the results of that and thinking that's how I should do it. So I think one of those things is like tone. I feel like you could be truthful, but the tone, knowing that person, I guess, as well, like knowing how that person best receives information, I feel like it's helpful in having healthy communication, because you're being, you're digging more into understanding like, how can I really have a healthy communication with this person? Because healthy communication, I feel like, also involves being adaptable to your environments, being adaptable to who you're talking to. Because if you're talking to somebody that's triggered by mentioning certain words, and you're sitting there triggering them by mentioning certain words that they probably expressed to you, I feel like that's when that relationship starts to break down, because you're not being respectful of their boundaries. And so that communication, that person's not hearing you. They're cutting you off because you're saying stuff they don't want to hear. So I feel like tone, as well as being mindful of that person's communication styles that you're talking with, I feel like that could be positive signs of healthy communication. And I feel like timing for certain conversations as well. So now we're gonna move more into like discussing like communicating versus just reacting. Because I feel like a lot of times, like we said before, a lot of people are just reacting and being defensive when people are trying to tell them something, instead of just like really understanding what's being said and responding based on what's being said, not what's being felt. So what happens when you feel like emotionally triggered in conversations? First, backtrack. What are your emotional triggers in a conversation? Like, are there certain words that trigger you, certain tones that trigger you, certain people that's like, I don't want to hear that? Like, what are some things that trigger you first?
Well, I used to get triggered because I used to think that everybody was attacking me. So I would immediately defend instead of listening, because I always felt that I was the one being attacked. But once I started healing, I took myself out of it and stopped making everything about me. I was like, okay, let's listen from a different ear. Let's not listen from always being triggered, think everybody attacking you. Let's listen from, okay, can this be helpful? Or, where is this person going with this?
Right.
And just sitting there listening and stop making everything about me. And I think that's what made it easier for me to hear people out, but then also to acknowledge what I heard, to make sure I heard them correctly, then repeat what I heard to make sure I understand it.
Right. And I think that's a great tips that you're kind of giving, like also asking questions. Like before responding, you want to make sure like you're responding to what's actually being said and not what you're assuming, because assumptions also is like the main thing that could really break down communication.
Right.
When people are acting off assumptions, off of feelings, like those are things that really could like break down that communication. And I feel like when people like just say like, can I pause here for a second, because I feel like I'm not really understanding what's going on or what you're trying to tell me, and so I'm starting to feel these feelings, but I really want to understand, what you're saying. Like really having those moments of just pausing and really asking for clarification as well.
Yeah, because going off assumption really cause a lot of miscommunication, because you over there assuming instead of just asking the right questions to find out what that person is really talking about.
Right.
And I know growing up, a lot of assumptions were always made. It was never facts. And that's another thing that kept me angry, because I stayed in trouble off of some assumptions. Instead of just asking me, April, did you do this?
Right.
And believing me until you saw me do it. So yes, assumptions can cause a lot of miscommunication, unnecessary.
Yeah. Yeah, and it could just be, it could also just be very hurtful as well, because it's like you're trying to communicate something to someone and they're already making up a scenario in their head, and so it's just like it's hurtful on that person, because just feel like, so did you listen to anything I just said? Like, why are we making this about you when it's really about the problem itself that I'm bringing to you? And I feel like when a lot of people look at it as communication is between two people who are trying to talk about a topic, and that topic could be another person, but just really getting down to understanding what the topic is, because I feel like comprehension comes into play as well. Like a lot of people not comprehending what is going on in the conversation, also just not listening, so you're forgetting bits and pieces, some details. And that's what I'm saying, like clarifying questions are really where that comes in to help, lessen the assuming things that are not being said, or assuming things that are not being felt, just really helping not break down that conversation even further.
Right.
But I think for me, when I'm emotionally triggered, I think due to you being the type of person, like you were more yelling, more screaming, I'm definitely like, when I'm, that triggers me emotionally. Like anybody screaming at me, yelling at me, I shut down. I just go in my little hole, and I don't want to talk no more. There's nothing to be said. And it's also because like I'm the type of person in conversations, in order to have a healthy conversation that is also productive, I need to be emotionally regulated. And I feel like yelling and screaming, one, it overstimulates me, and two, it doesn't regulate me. And so I can't have a conversation with someone if I'm not emotionally regulated. And also if you're disturbing my emotional regulation, like I physically can't. Because I'm more of a processor. And if I can't process my emotions, and if I can't, communicate in a safe environment where I feel like regulated and stable, I'm already breaking down the conversation in my head. I'm like, I don't want to talk no more.
And see, that's where I think where you and our communication has taken another level, is because I had to learn your communication style. I thought you should be able to communicate like I communicate, meaning in how the way that I process things. But once I started realizing, okay, well, why when I say such and such, she shuts down? Why when I'm telling her this, she's just quiet, not understanding? You need time to process. I don't need time to process, because my mind, I got to answer just like that. And a lot of people always ask me, how you always come up with an answer like that? because I trained my brain to think that fast. Because I used to always get in trouble. Mm-hmm. So I had to think fast so I could get out of trouble. Mm-hmm. But learning that you needed time to process, that stopped me from getting angry with you. Mm-hmm. Once you communicated. Because I used to think you was ignoring me. Mm-hmm. Until you said, Mama, I'm not ignoring you. I just don't have an answer for you. I'm trying to process everything that you said so I could come back with an answer. Mm-hmm. Once you communicated that with me, okay, now I know if you're not responding, that's not you being disrespectful or ignoring me. You are taking the time to process everything that I said so you could come back and have a conversation with me.
Yeah. Yeah, and I feel like that's been helpful in like helping resolve our relationship, is understanding, like I said, our communication styles, because then we're able to not assume, oh, because she's not saying nothing, she's ignoring me. But we know, like, oh, she's processing and she's going to get back to me with something. And if she doesn't, I will come back with a clarifying question to ask, okay, I noticed during this conversation
you shut down. Did you understand, or are you okay?
Did I say something?
Did I say something that triggered you?
That was misinterpreted? Right. Yeah, and that's when you had the clarifying questions. And that's why, like I said, I feel like that's a something that should be had, like a sign of healthy communication is knowing your other person's that you're talking to communication style, because then you're able to block out other ideas that what this person is saying is meant to hurt me, because right. because like me being silent is not trying to hurt you or try to silence you, because that's things you don't like, you know. And so you being aware that it's like, okay, she's not going to trigger me by being silent because I know she's actually listening.
Right. And that's why I used to get triggered, because I'm thinking you ignoring me because of that trauma from my childhood. Mm-hmm. And that's why I would go to yelling and screaming, because I'm like, I know she's not deliberately ignoring me, and I know she keep me talking to her.
And for the longest, I didn't understand why you get upset for my silence. I'd be like, any other person I talk to that had the same communication that they would appreciate that, because it's like you're not being quick to respond, mm-hmm. you're being quick to listen. But with you, it's like you want a solution right then and there. So I will always be confused, like, why is she getting upset and I'm not saying a word? I'm actually listening. That's what people need to do. But once I understood, one, that was a trigger for you, and why that was a trigger for you, I feel like I also started just saying, Mom, I'm listening, but I just don't have nothing to say. Like, just communicating that, because that was what you needed. You needed that communication that I'm thinking. Mm-hmm. And so I feel like, again, once we got that together, our communication improved for the better.
Right.
Because there was an understanding of how we like to be communicated and what we need in order to feel heard and feel seen.
And just like in the previous episode, when I said I could tell when you shut down, mm-hmm. and I'm not poking, but okay, Jada, what made you shut down? So I can know not to do that again.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. That's me properly trying to communicate and effectively trying to communicate with you. So our conversations, you're not shutting down. I need to know what triggered you.
Right.
So I won't do it again. Mm-hmm. And we could continue having healthy conversations.
Right. So y'all, when y'all having conversations with people, please, like, in the back of your mind, be cataloging, this is how this person needs to be communicated to for us to have a productive conversation. Because I feel like that is the main key. Once you find that groove, y'all going to be communicating like never before. Mm-hmm. Because not everybody is a boisterous person. Not everyone is quick to respond or give solutions. Some people are sitting back and they're actually really trying to think. Or vice versa. And I feel like understanding that is just going to help improve whoever you're trying to communicate with, and also improve your relationship down the line as well.
And some people get triggered by certain conversations. I have noticed that as well with people, that I may be comfortable talking about certain things, mm-hmm. but it may trigger them because I don't know what childhood traumas they may have. And just because it's easy for me to talk about, it may not be easy for that person to talk about. So sometimes you have to check the room temperature and understand that it's not nothing personally against you, but that may be a trigger for that person.
Right. Has there ever been a time you realized like your tone didn't match your intention?
Oh, I have known that my tone, and it was my intention.
Oh. And girl, see you.
I'm just being honest.
At least you're being honest. Because there's been times when I have to... Because I'm passive aggressive, yes. Is it a good thing? No, it's nothing I'm proud of. But there are times when I do hear that like passive aggressiveness when I'm communicating something, especially when I've gotten fed up. Yes.
And it really comes out.
Yes. And I'd be like, Jada, that's so not nice. That's so ugly, girl. Please fix it. Fix it, Jesus. So, and I do be having to just... And I feel like that's when that honesty comes into play with having conversations with people. I feel like signs of a healthy conversation is being honest, but at the same time, delivering it with love and not with passive aggressiveness, because that's not of God. Like, you know, just being able to communicate with people from a place of love, but also a place of honesty. And I feel like passive aggressiveness is just like, I guess it is like sarcasm.
It is. And I know when you be being passive aggressive, and that's why I call you out on it. I don't like nobody being passive aggressive with me because you're never going to catch me being passive aggressive with you. I'm going to be very direct and I'm going to tell you about yourself. Yeah. Now, what you do with it, that's on you. But you ain't never got to worry about me coming passive aggressive, because I just think that's just, I don't know. It's unnecessary.
It is unnecessary. It is. Because when I think about it, like after I've already done it, I'm like, Jada, was that really necessary? You could have just been up and honest and just said what you really wanted to say. Like, get it off your chest.
Right.
And I feel like that's the thing with communication, and people just don't know how to get it off their chest. But not saying like just get off your chest because you're just trying to put it on another person, but meaning like being open and honest so it doesn't build up over time. Because I feel like passive aggressiveness, it builds up over time.
And it continues to be something that
you resent. It becomes into resentment, anger.
People don't want to communicate with you because they know you're going to being passive aggressive instead of just saying what you need to say.
Right. And if you say what you need to say, that's going to save the relationship as well.
Right. Because you're being honest.
Right.
And I don't think passive aggressive don't come off as being honest.
It's not. It's not. It's definitely not. It's coming as a trauma response for sure. It's coming. It's definitely not nice though, and it's definitely not honest. Speaking from personal experience, I feel like it's a defense mechanism. That's what I would call it. For me, that's how I use it. I use it as a defense mechanism, as a way to protect the little girl that's been hurt. Have I really dug deep into that? No, but I have recognized that that's not a good thing, and I try to catch myself.
I'm proud of you.
Because it definitely is a learned behavior, just like any
where
other.
You learned it from? Because you didn't learn it from me.
No, I'm saying like a learned behavior, meaning like from my trauma.
Oh, okay.
Like how I learned to communicate, because I feel like when you're in environments, like let's use your environment for example, with your environment with the screaming and yelling, that's something that you adopted, but you could have also went my way and been more silent, been more reserved. And I feel like it's a protection. Being silent was my protection. You being vocal was your protection. That's not even my learned behavior. Meaning like my learned behavior as a form of protection was being passive aggressive, but that's still not a good thing. That's what I mean.
Okay.
So why do you feel like people listen to defend themselves instead of listening to understand? Because I feel like a lot of the miscommunication is because people are trying to just defend themselves instead of really listening to understand what the person is saying.
I know for me, because you're in that trauma mode and always in defense, so you have that defense mechanism, and no matter what people say, you always looking at it as an attack. I don't know why.
It's trauma.
It's trauma.
It's definitely trauma, because that's even like with certain things that I had to realize with you, like certain things are triggering. Like certain things, until you've healed from it, I just realized that's her trigger words, and I just need to stray away from that. But it's definitely rooted in trauma and being in survival mode, because I feel like there's communication that's rooted in survival mode, and then there's communication that's rooted out of love and rooted out of being healthy. And I feel like when you have a lot of people that are unhealed communicating with other unhealed people, you're bound to learn other unhealthy behaviors about communication. Like learning when things get tough, you shutting people out, you running away from the problem. That's not healthy.
Right.
Just like in the other sense, on the flip side, you know, when things get hard, you sitting there being combative with somebody.
Right.
That's not healthy as well. There's a good medium as far as being honest, speaking out of love, and also understanding how that person needs to be communicated to really be open to even having that conversation.
And I think it's also too, like I said, it's a learned behavior, because I have always seen other family members constantly defending themselves because being constantly accused of things that were assumptions and not actually the truth. So that's, I know, really the real reason I stayed in defense mode. So always defending myself.
So since you touched on assumptions, like how do assumptions really destroy communication? I feel like we touched on it a little bit early today, but we really didn't get down to like how we've seen assumptions like really destroy.
Because I've known in my family, we always assume the worst.
That's true.
Before we even think of something good, we always assuming the worst. And when you continue to speak, when you continue to assume the worst of people, it's hard for you to trust anything. So you questioning everything that person is doing, and you constantly making assumptions based off of what you think happened instead of just asking them, did this happen? Yeah. Or what happened?
Do you think that's kind of rooted in like?
But also too, I also think people assume other people doing stuff because that's stuff they be doing.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Projection for sure. I feel like but assumption, projection. I feel like those two factors definitely are like the main ways to really have a conversation go sour. Because just like, I feel like that defense mechanism is like, I'm being triggered. Like something somebody's saying is not even intentionally for me,
but it's accusatory. It comes from an accusatory way. So if you constantly feeling like somebody is accusing you of something,
you're gonna be defensive.
You know you didn't do it, you're gonna be defensive. But then I had to learn, April, if you know you ain't do it,
you don't apply, let it fly.
Yeah, you don't need to keep trying to explain yourself. Let them believe what they want to believe.
But do you think that just comes from your childhood? Like you just always been accused of things, and because you weren't able to communicate that I didn't do it and that be receptive, like that be received, that's why now you feel a need to defend yourself because nobody has ever come to your defense.
Yeah, but not now because I didn't heal from it. But early on in my adulthood, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Because every time somebody told my mom something I did, I never was asked my side of the story.
Right.
She just took it for whatever they said.
Right. Do you think people can communicate their frustrations without being disrespectful?
Yes.
How? Do you how? But before you answer how, do you think people do that though? Do you think people typically do that?
Do what?
Like communicate their frustrations in a respectful manner?
No.
So how do you think people can?
That's when you being slow to speak, swift to hear, and slow to anger. That's how.
Amen. Amen.
And taking yourself out of it and not making it about you.
And I feel like it also comes with doing a lot of reflection.
And healing.
Yeah, because I feel like we didn't just get to this point where we was just like,
no, this took years.
Yeah. But also reflecting. That's what I'm saying. I feel like the reflecting piece, and that's through like, I feel like us having conversations and us being accountable by saying like, I didn't like how this conversation went. Or like, I feel like your tone could be better. Or I feel like you could be less passive aggressive. I don't like that. Just really calling it out. And I feel like that us communicating that honestly helped future communication.
Right.
Because it helped us to understand, one, really understanding, okay, she needs to be communicated in this way and vice versa in order for me to receive that information. And I feel like when you really reflect, that's when the healing begins because you know what you need to heal from.
Right.
And also looking to try to figure out why and where did I even learn this? Because I learned it from somewhere or something that influenced me to do this.
But also, too, if you know the communication that you are currently having or doing is not serving you, don't wait for other people to learn how to communicate with you. You teach them how to communicate with you. By you communicating the way that you want to be communicated back.
Right.
You communicate that to them, and then you set your boundaries and let it be known, I'm not doing this.
Right. And that's a good point. Like communication and
Starts
how it plays and how it also plays with boundaries as well. And yeah, it starts with you for sure. Like, how do you want to be communicated to?
And how you communicate with yourself.
Yeah, right. Because that's that boundary you're gonna set when people are trying to communicate with you. Like, I don't communicate with myself like that. I'm honest. I'm not passive aggressive. And also just understand how would that feel on the receiving end. Right. Like, would you expect you to be receptive to someone, you being passive aggressive to somebody else? Like, would you really, expect them to really hear what you had to say and really want to continue communicating with you, continuing this relationship with you?
Right.
Like, would you really want that? So, do you think is honesty still healthy if it lacks gentleness? Do you even think gentleness is required when you're being honest with somebody about something?
It depends. Because I don't know what you mean by gentleness. Because
I guess like not being
then
brash and rude about it. Like that's how I'm interpreting it. Like how God would be honest with you. Because I feel like God is gentle.
Not all the time.
Not all the time, but sometimes the truth has to be told. I don't feel like God holds back.
But he's not always gentle, Jada.
I know he's not always gentle, but
that's your emotions. And you gotta get out your feelings.
I'm not in my feelings.
When somebody trying to tell you something that's honest, you should not be worried about the tone. You should be worried about the message. And if it's coming from love,
but
that should be the last thing that you're concerned about. Because if I'm telling you about to die right now, are you sitting there worrying about the tone that I'm telling you about to die? No,
yes. Mama, I feel like you have to be honest. And like I feel like the reason why I say you have to be honest is because we're all on a healing journey to become more intentional communicators. I agree with that. But I'm saying along this healing journey, you can't say that your first response isn't like, you don't like side eye the way people communicate with you, because it could, the tone could get very disrespectful.
I'm not denying that.
And I'm saying, so when you say God is not gentle, I agree, but he's still respectful in the loving, it's still in a loving manner is what I'm saying. And I feel like you could be loving, but your tone can also not be loving. Like, you can't be loving and your tone not be loving. Like, I don't feel like two things could be true. I don't feel like that's true, is what I'm saying. Because I feel like I could be angry with you and my tone doesn't have to be loud. It doesn't have to be rude. Like, you could express anger without it being like crazy is what I'm saying. Just the same way you can express honesty with somebody without being crazy. There is a tone to things. And I feel like when you dismiss tone, not you, I'm just saying, like, when people dismiss tone as a factor and a person being receptive to it, I feel like I disagree.
And that's okay for you to disagree.
Because we're emotional beings at that. So it's like, people are not, I just don't believe people are disregarding a tone. Not emotions, tone is what I'm saying.
I'm neutral.
So if somebody's speaking to you sarcastically, that's a tone. And you don't like that. You literally stated you don't like that. So you would be...
But we talking about honesty. So that's what I'm talking about.
But we got to this point because you was trying to ask me, what do you mean by gentle? And I don't mean it in the sense of talking in a still, soft voice. That's not what I mean. I mean in the way that God would communicate and understanding, like, he's gentle, he's loving, but he's also,
the Lion of Judah.
Yeah. Like, that's what I mean.
And he roars.
Right. But that's what I mean. I mean, like, in that sense, like, God is gentle, but if you keep doing the same thing over and over again, of course he's going to be angry, but it's still coming from a loving place. His anger is what I'm saying. So same thing with someone, you could be honest and communicate it from a loving perspective. And I'm not saying yeah, Jada, don't do that. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying like literally being nice. Because I feel like nice and gentle, I wouldn't call them the same thing.
I get it. I'm not disagreeing with you.
So, but I was still asking you, like, just trying to see, like, is honesty still healthy if it lacks gentleness?
I think it is.
Okay, you think it is. And why do you think it is?
Because sometimes honesty don't need gentleness.
Mm-hmm.
Not all honesty needs gentleness.
Mm-hmm.
That's why. I didn't say it's not needed. I just said all honesty does not need gentleness.
Mm-hmm. No, I could agree.
So that was my only take on it.
Okay.
I just didn't want you to think that all honesty needs gentleness.
Mm-mm.
I'm just saying that all honesty needs it.
Yeah, to be healthy.
Right.
Okay. Do you think avoiding conflict is actually protecting your peace?
No.
Why not?
Because your peace is still being disturbed because you're not being honest. You're not telling yourself the truth, and you don't want to hear the truth. So you just going in the same old cycle. La 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 la.
What that man said off of A Few Good Men, you don't want the truth.
But it's still affecting you quietly.
Yeah. I agree. I definitely agree. Because I feel like I agree because I've come to learn that me avoiding conflict is not protecting my peace. It's actually building up for chaos.
And for you to blow up.
Yeah. So I definitely agree with that. Y'all let us know in the comments. We just having a mini debate. So y'all let us know in the comments. 1, is honesty still healthy if it lacks gentleness? 2, is avoiding conflict actually protecting your peace? Why or why not?
Yes.
But I've definitely come to understand that no, it's not protecting my peace. Like,
because you constantly letting it build up and then you're going to explode about it.
Yeah. But I feel like I also had to change my conception of conflict. It's just a disagreement. It doesn't mean you're at war with somebody. Right. It doesn't mean I don't like that person. It just means we're having a disagreement of opinions. And we had to disagree. Right. And we could do it in a respectful manner while still not compromising our values and how we feel about something.
Right.
And I feel like it takes a lot of maturity to do that as well. So that's something I'm definitely learning.
I'm proud of you.
Me too. All right, so now we're going to really try to unpack, because I feel like a lot of words that we've been using is understanding that there's a lot of trauma behind the way that people have learned to communicate that is unhealthy. And, I feel like us, really reading the Bible and just seeing how God communicates with us, I feel like that has also been, for me personally, like something that I take with me is just like, how is God communicating to me? And how he, references in the Bible, how we should communicate, even like speaking over our own selves. Like, that's a lot of things I had to be mindful of. It's just like, how am I communicating to myself when I wake up?
And then people don't understand the way that you communicate to yourself is how you make yourself feel.
Exactly.
Because that's the words you're telling yourself. So if I know that I don't want to have a bad day, I'm not going to speak a bad day over me.
Mm-hmm.
If I know I don't want to be broke, I'm not going to be telling myself I'm broke.
Yeah. Because we got money over here. God is my pocketbook. And he's my source for everything.
When you constantly telling yourself, oh, it's just one thing after another, and you wondering why you keep having one thing after another happen. I'm so cautious with my words.
Mm-hmm. Especially if I'm at work. Even just saying like I'm frustrated, like you could be frustrated but say like, God, I'm feeling this, but help me to come out of this.
But I'm gonna tell you, that got broken down to me by someone. Myron Golden talked about that. Mm-hmm. He said every time you saying I am, you're literally saying God is whatever you saying, because I am is God.
Right.
I am means God. So if you're saying
the great I am, yes.
If you're saying I am broke, you saying God is broke. And we know good and well he not broke.
But that's something, I feel like you be catching me that too with like the colloquialisms that the youth that we made up, like the I'm weak type of thing. Because I feel like it's
and I catch you.
Yes,
with
because it's so like
I'm deceased.
Yeah.
No.
Yes.
Please.
Yes.
Stop saying.
I'd be like, I'm alive and well in Jesus' name, because I do have that bad. I'm not even gonna lie, I have that bad. But like you said, catching myself, because yes, I'm thinking of it as like a funny hee like. I'd be like, Mama, it's not that, but it is that serious.
It is.
It's very serious. Like, your words are very powerful, and there's a lot of correction. Like I said, it's a lot of unlearning those negative behaviors, those negative ways of communicating. Even when I'm joking around, it's not a joking matter. Because like you said, that's a great way how you broke it up. Like how he broke it up. Like, I am, replace that with God.
Mm-hmm.
And is God those things? No.
So why
especially if you believe and trust in him.
Right.
Yeah.
So when he said that, I was like, wow.
But that's a good way to really flip it. To really, really think before, like, you be quick to listen, slow to speak. And
So anytime you saying I am, you're literally saying
God is. That's a good one. Y'all heard it, huh? So anytime y'all are speaking anything over yourselves and y'all got the I am, and from whatever the action is, replace what God is, and really think, is God these things?
Well, I'm giving credit because I didn't say that. Myron.
Yeah. So how do you think trauma can really impact someone's communication styles? Or like even just using your own experience, like how did you realize it impacted your communication style before you started correcting it?
It impacts it a whole lot because it could silence you. Mm-hmm. It could cause you to act out. It could cause you to be rebellious, but it could really cause you to act out in a negative way with the yelling and the screaming. And it's unproductive. Mm-hmm. Because first of all, nobody's listening.
Right.
And second of all, you're not getting your needs met. Mm-hmm.
Trauma could really just impact not even just how you communicate, but how you communicate with others and how people are receptive to that communication. And then based on that communication, just like the breakdown of their relationship. Because communication is key to a lot of relationship building.
And people will not want to be bothered with you because of that negative communication coming from you, the way that you're communicating. Mm-hmm. Because that's how the way I felt that. Like, that's why I would always feel attacked. Because I didn't know how to communicate in the way that I communicated. It made people shut down.
Right.
And not want to deal with me.
Right. It's just crazy how communication just impacts like every areas of our life. I feel like we was having conversations about that. Like, communication really is like the breakdown for a lot of things. Mm-hmm. Like, even like we talking about wars, we're talking about work relationships, personal relationships, family relationships. Because a lot of it is, especially in families, there's a lot of he said, she said, and you're not even going to the source. Like, what is that about?
And gossip is a sin.
Yes. Like, and I feel like that's the main thing, like, with family, it's just, like, it's a lot of gossiping. And a lot of them be throwing their rocks, hiding their hands, and stirring up a lot of confusion. And I feel like that's one of the reasons why a lot of communication is disrupted in the family, because it keeps up a lot of confusion. Mm-hmm. When communication should be clear, it should be honest. There should be no confusion involved, because that's how you break down communication, and that breaks down a relationship itself.
Right.
So now we're going to move into this last set of questions that I have for you. So why do people expect mind reading in relationships? Because I feel like that's something I definitely had to unlearn in my relationship. Because a lot of things that my partner always, like, I feel like was the breakdown was just like me expecting him to know what was coming out of my brain without saying it. Like, communicating my needs, my emotions, or like if something upset me. Like I said, I learned based on how I grew up. Since you were yelling, I go in my silo. And I feel like I go in my silo even when someone has upset me. I'm just like, don't worry about it. While also expecting that they know why I went in my silo.
No.
Right.
That's crazy.
Literally madness, chaos again. And that was causing like a breakdown in our relationship. Is like, he'll get upset with me then, because it's like, why you upset with me? Yeah, you're not communicating with me. Why you upset with me? So now I'm upset with you, because it's like, what's really going on?
Right.
So, but.
And if we're partners, we should be able to communicate what's making us feel whatever.
Right. But again, he was my mirror into understanding that's not healthy.
Right.
That's not healthy in my relationship, but that's not also healthy with platonic relationships with you. Like, just breaking down like that, instead of just being able to communicate this conversation. These are my thoughts around this conversation. This is how I'm feeling. How can we get over this? Like, how can we continue communicating? And I feel like there's nothing wrong with just communicating like how you're feeling in order to move on. Yeah. Right. But how do you feel about that? Do you feel like in your relationships you expected people to read your mind?
Probably early on in the beginning I probably did, but now I communicate what I want, because I don't want nobody. First of all, I don't want you trying to think what you know what I want, and then you giving me something what I don't want, and then that's really gonna piss me off even more. So.
Facts.
So I might as well just tell you.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good outlook on it, because I feel like that's something else that they used to annoy me too. It's just like me being quiet and thinking people are gonna give me what I wanted, and then they turn around and give me something that I really didn't want. Like, yeah, that. I think that's even worse.
Right.
So that's why I definitely was like, let me just communicate what I want. So I'm not disappointed. Because disappointment is like one of my biggest, like, I hate feeling disappointed in people and myself. And I feel like that's one way to disappoint me and really make me go on my silo.
Yeah, but I agree.
Okay. Ooh, this is a good one. Have you ever said I'm fine while hoping somebody, like, I guess, like, check in and be like, are you really fine?
No. I'm not about to lie and say I'm fine when I know I'm not. No, I'm not.
Maybe that's that passive aggressiveness.
Yes.
Because I do be like, I'm fine. And then I'd be like, oh, they not going to ask, am I really?
No, but my face going to say that I'm not fine.
Yeah. I feel like my face do be saying it. But then again, something else that just coming to understand, like, just be honest. Like, don't be sarcastic. Don't beat around the bush. Just be honest and open about what you want. Because as a person that has trauma, how can you expect to heal when you're not addressing what you need, what was withheld as a child? And I feel like communication is supposed to fill that gap of communicating what your needs are,
right?
What your desires are, what your wants are, what your boundaries are, what your expectations are. Is a opportunity to communicate all those different things.
Because it's obvious you didn't get it because you didn't say what you needed.
Exactly. And so sometimes I be sitting there like, that don't make no sense, Jada. That don't make no sense. How are you mad that someone didn't give you what you needed when you didn't communicate what those needs were? And that's the whole thing back to like the mind reading thing. People have to understand. That's why I said, back to my point of understanding people's communication styles. Because for you would think like, I'm able to read your mind and know like, oh, Jada's, you would think you better read my mind and know like Jada's silence is her thinking. But it's like, no, I have to communicate that to you. You can't read my mind and know what I'm thinking and processing.
You was ignoring me.
Right.
I was making the assumption you was ignoring me.
And so same thing applies to situations where, you know, you need to communicate with people your needs. And I feel like that's when the learning how to communicate comes into play, because it's going to help heal you, but also heal your relationship and, you know, help it improve moving forward as well.
Right. Because
it's helping heal the little girl that was hurt, heal the man that was hurt, you know, the little boy that was hurt, you know, heal. Communication is a repair, if anything.
Very much.
Because it's helping fill in the gaps.
Right. And that's in any type of relationship.
Platonic
even
too.
Parent to child relationship. If the child is not communicating that something is wrong, majority of the time the parent thinking, oh, everything fine. Until that's why I will always ask you open-end questions, because I don't want to assume, because I'm thinking I'm doing everything right.
Right. And then I feel like a lot of times where we fall short is like relying off of emotion. But I feel like one emotion can communicate different needs.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we can't rely on emotion because it can communicate different needs. Just like someone saying, like, I'm sad. Okay, but what are you sad from? So I know what to not make you sad. What needs to be filled so you don't feel that emotion anymore? And I feel like a lot of people just feel like, well, they saw I was angry. They should know. No. They just, all I see is anger. But I don't know the root of that anger. And I feel like people getting down to communicating that, what behavior made you feel that emotion? What thought made you feel that emotion? What is the gap? And then communicating that will help you resolve that gap so you won't feel those emotions. And so that person knows, okay, that emotion is connected to these behaviors.
Right.
So I feel like getting down to the root, y'all, is the key. Always. So now I have a few questions. These are like some call yourself out questions that I just wanted you all to reflect on and maybe jot down some responses in the comments to whichever question you feel like resonates with you the most. And you can answer as well, Mom. So which unhealthy communication habit do you struggle with most? Avoidance, defensiveness, over-explaining, shutting down, interrupting, passive aggression, exploding emotionally. And you could have more than one. So I know those a lot. Let me know if you need me to repeat something.
Mine is over-explaining.
Mm-hmm. Mine shutting down for sure. And passive aggressiveness. I guess exploding emotionally, once I get to that, once I get to my breaking point, I feel like, yeah. And avoidance. It's all of them. So all of them. I don't feel like I interrupt as much. I do over explain. I feel like out of all of them, the only one I don't feel like I do as much is interrupt.
Right.
I think, then again, maybe not. No, I don't really don't interrupt people. Because I be feeling like that's rude. So y'all answer in the comments and I'll have it up on the screen as well. The second question is, do you communicate to solve problems or to win arguments?
I'm solving problems. I don't care nothing about winning no argument.
I feel like sometimes be a little bit of both. I ain't gonna lie.
Who?
Me.
Oh.
Like proving a point. Sometimes I just want to prove a point. Because, I don't know. I feel like, yeah. Because I feel like, and the reason why I say this is because if a lot of, especially in the past, when a lot of my behaviors were very much unhealthy, how are you trying to solve a problem if both of y'all are like bickering and y'all not like getting to the root of it? You know what I'm saying? That's causing even more chaos. So that's what I'm saying.
Mine has always been to solve a problem. But it escalates when I'm not being heard.
Mm-hmm. So y'all be honest and answer in them comments. Do you communicate to solve problems or to win arguments? And really reflect on where you are in your healing journey.
Now, I used to be petty.
Yeah.
To win the argument.
That's what I'm saying. It depends. And it also depends on who I'm communicating with, because I'm still working on it. But I can acknowledge, yeah, there were times where it's like, yeah, I'm trying to prove a point. More, I want to say prove a point than win an argument. I'm proving a point though. Are you listening to understand or waiting for your turn to speak? I'm listening to understand. Because honestly, I don't want to talk. I don't want to talk. So y'all answer in the comments. Are y'all listening to understand or waiting for your turn to speak? I'm curious to know. And then, are you emotionally available during conversations or emotionally guarded? I feel like I wear my heart on my sleeve. I'm not going to lie.
I'm emotionally available.
I feel like I'd be very emotionally attuned to how other people be feeling. And I just be feeling emotions. Like, I don't know. I feel like I'm very emotionally aware.
Now that I used to feel everybody's emotions until I learned how to control it. Because that is very exhausting.
It is.
When you could feel everybody's emotions. Yeah. And I was like, I thought I was cursed at one time. And then until I, started praying about it. And I was able to control it.
Yeah. So those are a few questions that we have for you to call yourself out and really address, like, how your communication style is and where you are. Depending on where you are in your journey, you may pick one over the other, but just curious to have that reflection for you all. So the next is the game segment. And this game is called Lost in Translation. So on one side is going to be a phrase, and you got to try to decode what the person really trying to really trying to say. Because I feel like a lot of times when we communicating, like we talked about earlier, there's a lot of underlying messages that people aren't picking up on. So I want to see if we could decode some of these messages. All right, I'll go first. All right, you should already know why I'm upset.
No, I sure do.
So what you think they're trying to communicate to you by that? Like think about an argument like
what you did them, something you did them.
Okay. So the translation is that I want to feel emotionally understood without always having to explain myself. So
Never mind.
I feel like I use that a lot. I feel like they have something that they want to say and they probably felt like unheard or not understood. So they just let it go.
And I hate when you do that because I be really trying to understand
but
what you're saying.
But it also
and you
goes
always never mind.
But I feel like
and I know it be something.
Yeah, but for me it's also I feel like that's because I don't like repeating myself. And that's why we off the podcast we had that arguing about like you be saying when you repeat yourself, you get upset because you having to repeat yourself. But me, I literally just can't. I'm not about to. But yeah.
Special.
So I guess you're too busy for me now.
When someone assuming you don't have time for them.
So yeah, I miss spending time with you. That's what they're really trying to say. Like I miss spending time with you, and I've been feeling disconnected lately. So if anybody's saying this to y'all, maybe they trying to tell y'all something.
I just won't say anything anymore.
I feel like that's also feeling like you're not being heard, you're not being understood, you're being misinterpreted, and so it's just like from here on out, I'm just not gonna say nothing. Yeah.
It says I don't feel heard when I express myself, so I'm shutting down.
I feel like I be saying that too.
You do.
I'm working on it. This is where that healing come from, y'all. Gotta heal. You always do this.
Always being blamed for something.
Like, what you think I'm trying to say while saying like, okay, so say you didn't come pick me up. You always do this. Or like, say you were supposed to keep a promise and you didn't. You always do this. What do you think I'm trying to say?
You keep doing the same thing.
This situation triggered a pattern that's been hurting me for a while.
It's whatever.
It really isn't whatever. I'm gonna get down to the bottom of it now.
It's actually bothering me, but I don't know how to say it without starting conflict. And it's not conflict. You just need to say what it is.
Yeah.
In your mind, you thinking it's conflict, but nobody can read.
It's really just without starting a conversation. Again, just trying to. I feel like if we look at conflict as just like we trying to fill a gap. That's all. We trying to fill a gap because that's why there's conflict because there's a gap. All right, y'all. The last one. You're acting different.
You see a change in my behavior.
I feel distance between us, and I want reassurance about where we stand. So that's our Lost in Translation game. Let me know what y'all thought about this game, and if any of these statements are like triggering and make you reflect, like, oh, that's what that person really meant when they said that. Because now when she hear me say it, never mind, she gonna be like, girl, what's really you do?
I always tell you, what's on your mind.
You do. So I hope you guys like that game. So I hope everyone enjoyed this episode of The Art of Communication. And I also just want to go back to, what God says about communication and those scriptures that we had talked about in the beginning. Like life and death are in the power of the tongue, and being really quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to anger. And really meditating on those scriptures. And when you're having like your daily conversations with people, just really reflecting like, is this healthy? Is the way that I'm communicating the way that God says we should be communicating with each other? And if you're seeing there are some signs of unhealthy communication, that's when you need to do that reflection. Also ask God for the words to really communicate from a loving heart, but also being honest and asking, that person, like, which way can I communicate this to you? Because I really want to repair our relationship, improve our relationship, and mend our relationship. Because that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to mend the little girl to restore the woman. So we hope you guys are really taking the opportunity to really reflect on how are your conversations going with your loved ones, and what are some signs that you may have some unhealthy communication skills and you need to work on certain skills, whether that's like your tone, whether that's avoiding certain trigger words they may trigger, a loved one. What are some other things people should?
And just practice effective communication. Mm-hmm. And that's going to take, when you are in communication with people and you notice that it's going the wrong way, what are you going to do? Take a pause.
Right. And just practice saying things with kindness, honesty, but also truth. Speaking the truth, because that is what is going to set people free. And please be sure to follow us on all social media platforms. That's TikTok, Instagram, at MendHER Podcast. And also please subscribe to our YouTube channel here at the MendHER Podcast. And comment down below what was your favorite point from this segment, or any things that you really took away from this episode. We would love to hear your thoughts and love to hear what you would want to hear in next episodes. And stay tuned for the next episode.